So it's a start of a new series. I got the first season right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be watching the first and last episode of the season, season one. I'm going to do this for every season. There's going to be an episode for each of the seasons. See how these stand the test of time. And what I'm going to do is I'll be stopping to shoot like short, tiny videos in between to let you guys know what I'm thinking as I watch through. Hi there. So I'm getting ready to start the first part of the project here. We're going to watch episode one of Glee, and for the first season, and then we're going to be watching the final episode of season one and see how if the first episode, the pilot, still holds up, how the season ender holds up, and if it makes me if the pilot still makes me now want to like watch the rest of the series. If watching the season ender makes me want to say, okay, I want to come back to see next season, or was this a satisfying conclusion for a season without seeing all the episodes in between? So we're gonna do that, and I'll be back at various times start watching this episode to talk to you guys and let you know what my thoughts are. So wish me luck. Okay, so this is actually gonna be kind of interesting because I've only seen this show on TV years ago when it originally came on. But this apparently is the director's cut of the pilot, so it's going to be my first time watching that. I don't remember what the differences are, but we'll see if anything pops up. So as a YouTuber and a social media person, I totally relate to this sequence right here. So they're introducing the characters, and they talk about Rachel Berry, who's going to be kind of like the star of the show, and it's pretty obvious, actually. All these people are super talented singers right out of the gate. Really surprised they didn't do more with the girl named Tina, because, man, she can sing. But as you can see, this is MySpace, like kind of like the MySpace equivalent here. I guess pre-Facebook, and it's all she does a super talented song. She's got like one view. I'm like, I feel you. I understand. I know I know you're coming from. So far so good. Though the weird opening with the teacher being inappropriate with the well, that definitely not fly. Even as comedy now, because I know from watching the series before that the teacher that got fired, the ex-Glee captain, I guess you call him, he becomes kind of a character in the show. It's almost like, remember Family Guy? And of course, Glenn Quagmire, who turns out who's super inappropriately like freaky, and then you have to like change his character so they can keep him on the show because he's a fan favorite. I don't know what they were thinking with the character played by Stephen Tobolsky because it's different. So we're at what I guess is the first big song for the series, and that's by the rival group Vocal Adrenaline, which I think, if I remember, it's been a long time. I think I'm not sure if it's like them, but like the group itself is in like future seasons, and it's good. I mean, the first what they're trying to do here. And I think they moved away from it later on. So we'll see when we get into like later episodes of the series, is that it's trying to stick kind of closer to, Glee, basically music being done on stage or being performed elsewhere, as opposed to like a musical where songs can happen anywhere. So I remember like going in a different direction, kind of like later on going into to more like songs happening on the fly or anywhere. So I do like that. So I'm hoping that comes into it. And one thing I will say, there's a lot of information packed into one episode here so far, and that would normally be something I'd be a little bit more concerned about. But if I remember correctly, when the show was first like being aired, I think that they only had a 6 or so many episode like run, and the creator of the show, Ryan Murphy, wasn't super positive that the show was going to get picked up. So we tried to get everything in to the first like 6 or so episodes of the series, and luckily they got picked up to do the rest of the season, so they got a full season. But initially, if you're watching the series and it seems like there's a lot of information and things are going at kind of at a breakneck pace, or something is something that could have been done over like a few episodes, that's the reason actually. So we're getting close to the end of the first episode, the pod episode, and as we're going through it, things are going by so fast, and we're not really learning enough about the characters for me to like really kind of grasp on them. So I'm kind of wondering. I was getting to the point where like, okay, I know I'm gonna like this type of show because this is basically the type of person I am in real life. This is, you know, am I like dancing and singing music in my own house and crazy stuff like that? Yes, that's me. But how did this like grasp on to a basic audience? And I get to this portion right here where they're singing where the sing song at the end, and Don't Stop Believing. Anyway, so a Journey song. Everything's like, even though I don't know the characters like super well, things are starting to come together, and I'm like, one, I don't care how mean shit this girl is in real life. Apparently, she is freaking talented beyond the scope that most people can ever imagine me. It is insane. Just the way she, her voice, her vocal range, the way she does this. You know, she's the modern day Streisand type thing. But yeah, it's looking good. And for a while there, I really didn't think so. So I'll be back with my thoughts after the episode. So I just finished the first episode. It's a pilot. It's my first time seeing the director's cut of the pilot. So, and I really don't know what the difference is. So, if you've seen, I took some videos all the way maybe in between the series, and I just like stopped the show, and I'll come back and give you my reactions. I'm going through. I'm going to do the same thing for the season finale, which is called Journey to Regionals, which kind of makes sense, I guess. So for those that don't know, or that for short-term memory people, I mentioned earlier on in the video that this episode, this pilot, especially for a pilot, there's a lot of information, and it seems to be going at a super fast pace. We're not getting a lot of time to really get to know many of the characters. Even for a pilot, it seemed pretty quick. So I did look it up afterwards just to make sure, and I was correct actually. The show initially only got a 13 episode run, and Ryan Murphy was unsure that the series was going to get anything after that. So he wanted to get everything in that he could within those 13 episodes. So there's a lot of stuff packed in. And in the initial part of the show, the first season, the first part of the season anyway, they do tend to keep the music stuff not so much on musical as in you'd see in a musical where basically singing and dancing can happen anywhere, but within reason. So like on stage or at the where there's a sectional or they're going to see a musical or they're going to see musical acts, something like that, like with the vocal adrenaline sequence. So that works out pretty well. But I prefer it when it actually gets into being like an actual musical. So basically, there's a season later on, and I won't be doing that episode, but I'm pretty sure there's one Brittany, and where one of the characters is named Brittany, and she kind of doesn't like Britney Spears because her name is Britney Spears something. That's her name. There's they all go to this dentist, and it's played by John Stamos, and they have like go under the nitrous oxide, and then they imagine this musical number, which is kind of cool. I actually kind of dig that over just kind of musical numbers that happen because it's time to for them to get on stage or time for them to do a really snazzy rehearsal. So I was in like different glee clubs and drama clubs and cheerleading and all that. It was never this choreographed. I'll tell you that much right now. And I don't think we ever had anybody that sounded like any of these, like even the backup singers. But I'm going into I'm going to watch the last episode of the first season. I'll tell you right now. So there was been drama online about the actress that plays Rachel Berry because apparently she wasn't nice to some people on stage. She was a bit of a diva. I don't care. Girl's super talented. Like I said before, she is beyond talented. Anyway, well, the end of the season hold up to the first part of the season. Like I said when I started watching it, I initially didn't like the first bit of the pilot. I could see if somebody never got to the end of the pilot, they wouldn't come back to the series. So that was surprising for me because when I initially watched Glee, when I watched the first episode, I was blown away. And maybe I guess in retrospect, after seeing other shows like that now, I would understand if somebody started to watch it and never finished the first episode and never went back to see the rest of it, see where it got better. But it does get good near the end of the near the end of the episode, and it did make me want to come back and watch more. It actually made me want to watch the whole thing, but that's not the what I'm doing right now. I'm watching the first episode of the season, then the last episode of the season, and I'm going to compare them. So I'll be back. Well, you'll see videos of me talking in between the last episode of the season when I see something that's worth mentioning, and then I'll come back here for a final analysis. I'll let you guys know what I thought of the pilot and the season finale, and see how they stand up towards against one another, and how it makes for what I want to watch it and what I continue to watch it. So I'm getting ready to start on the Journey to Regionals, the last episode of season one, and see how season one's season ender stands up to the test of time. If it makes me want to watch any more, which I'm going to have to do anyway, because I'm committed to doing all first and last episodes for every one of the seasons. That's 6 of these, but I'll be back to let you guys know what I think. So they do a recap of what happened throughout the season, like, so you know if you just came in and you started watching, which is kind of cool. I really like that they're doing that. So right behind me, that's Jonathan Groff from Hamilton and Mindhunter, and going to be in Doctor Who this season. So yeah, Jonathan Groff. I've forgotten that he was on it. Extremely talented singer, kind of a really great Broadway guy, and super cool on the show. We'll talk about him a bit more actually later on in the episode, because I think he comes back again in this episode. So I think we're going to see him again, because he plays kind of a bad guy here. And by the time we get to the last season, we'll be talking about that a bit more. So we're 9 minutes into the episode, almost 10 right now. And one thing I can say is that there's already been some really, really good callbacks to the pilot, which is great to see actually for a season ender, to see some real callbacks to the first episode. And hopefully this is going to continue throughout the seasons, because I'm very impressed, and I hope I'm going to stay that way. But there's been some great stuff, and there's a huge cast compared to what was in the original pilot, especially for the Glee Club. It's been, they had like, I don't know, 5 or 6 members or something like that. Now there's a whole bunch of them, including the ones that were bullies. And I can't remember. I don't quite remember exactly how a couple of them came into the club. I know 2 or 3 of them came in like to be kind of spies, but they ended up staying. But yeah, I don't remember a lot of it. But what I'm liking so far is the callback to the original episode and how it's playing out and bringing back the journey again. So I like Journey, so that'll be fun. So one thing I can say is that when I came in to watch the end episode for the season, I really expected it to not be as interesting, because there's so much space in between. And this is, at this point, this is the perfect season ender. We have a lot of progression on storylines that were set up at the beginning, and a bunch of other stuff, obviously, that happened throughout the season. But we're getting a lot of callback and a lot of stuff so if you've been watching the show from the beginning, there's a lot of stuff from episode 1. So if you watch episode 1 and you hadn't seen anything else, you came in one, like me, you're going to be a bit confused right now, but you're going to see so much like callback to the beginning episode. So many throwbacks. The first episode like has the Journey song, right? And they're at regionals. They're doing this Journey mashup. It's incredible. And I remember now, this is why people keep watching this show. And it's not always because the plots are the greatest or because it has some of the most fantastically written scripts. It's because of these musical numbers. It's because they had extremely talented people like doing the choreography, doing the music. They had great singers, great dancers. And for the original guys especially, I'm pretty sure like that guy right there on the screen, like he left after season 1. And he's like, no, I don't think Glee's going to be my thing. Hopefully, like, he did really well afterwards. But man, why would you leave this show? Yeah, it's. I'm very impressed. So we have Vocal Adrenaline doing the performance right now, and what's really neat with the editing here is the performance is being done, and it is it's Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody, and they're going back and forth between Quim Fabray, the cheerleader. That's part of Vocal Adrenaline. It's part of the New Directions, the main cast, and she's having her baby. She's a teenager having a baby, and it's going back and forth between the birthing of the baby and Vocal Adrenaline's song Bohemian Rhapsody, which is Broadway like level style with the way they're doing this. But the editing is incredibly impressive. This episode is leaps and bounds better than the pilot, and you can see where they've put a lot of this together really well. So for some reason, I thought that was in a latter season. I didn't realize how quickly the show moved, but that's Idina Menzel. She is a Broadway superstar, and a lot of you guys will know her from Frozen, but for me, like Wicked was probably the first thing that I remember Idina Menzel from. She is, of course, the Wicked Witch in Wicked, which is a fantastic musical, and she just kills it. Her and Christina Chenoweth are amazing. So she plays the mother of Rachel Berry, and just look at her. Oh my God! Of course she does. They kind of do look alike, so they got kind of similar looks, facial structure, everything. And I had forgotten that her character came into this one so early, two that we'd had so much Broadway talent on the series at this point. So when the baby started happening, I said like, wait, doesn't like that character like adopt the baby? But I'm like, no, she couldn't be in it this early. So a lot happened in the first season of this show. Holy crap. So we finished the first season of Glee, sort of. We watched the first episode of the pilot, and we watched the final episode of season 1. It ran originally from 2009 to 2010, and it went 22 episodes. 13 were initially ordered, and they ordered the other 9 afterwards when the series did so well and quickly got picked up. As mentioned before, Ryan Murphy didn't realize it was going to get picked up. He thought it wasn't going to. After all, it was a series about a Glee club. So he tried to do as much as he could, as quickly as he could. That turned out to rush things in the beginning, leaving me with a pilot that I overall liked, but I think was fairly uneven. When it came to the ending episode, though, as you saw from my comments as I was watching through it was really, really good. There was a lot of callbacks to the original episode. A lot of things got paid off. I guess if I had been watching this like throughout the season, would there be even more payoff because we got the baby adoption. We see 2 massive Broadway stars with Jonathan Groff and Idina Menzel in the series. By the way, Christine Chenoweth is going to be will be in episodes. Chenoweth is going to be in episodes later on, and she probably was already in episodes. I'm not quite sure, but they did great callbacks to the original show, and I don't know if we're going to see this much when it comes to as we go through these different shows. But I'll tell you this thing right now: if Glee had started at episode 1 and ended completely at episode 22, it would have ended with a satisfying conclusion. Now, either fortunately or unfortunately, however you feel about it, Glee ran for 6 seasons. We're going to go through all the seasons. We're going to see some ups and downs as we go through those. And same as this one. First episode, last episode of the season. But this is what a great way to end a season. What would have actually been a fantastic way to end a series. There is some tragedy with Glee. 3 of the actors have unfortunately passed away since there's one of them actually passed away when the series was being made, and that is Corey Monteith. Corey Monteith was an actor that was the lead actor of the series, and one of the really great things about him is he's very much real, yeah, and very much himself, to the point actually when he's playing the character of Finn, and he's a guy that kind of fits into like 2 different worlds. Corey Monteith had a very similar thing in that he had some struggles. He wasn't as like football kind of like quarterback as Finn. He was actually had some struggles and some different times, unfortunately, and sadly that would not end well. We'll get into like what happens for the character later on in the series, but what an amazing talent that went way too soon. And we'll talk with some of the other actors that didn't make it, unfortunately, as we go through here. But for the series overall, this was amazing. If you were to go out and buy season 1 of Glee, watch it, and stop right there, it's great. However, There are 5 more seasons that we have to watch. So I will be watching the first episode of season 2, followed by the last episode of season 2. And we'll see how season 2 um, fits up. Because I remember as we go through this, we're not going to have smooth sailing all the way through this show. I really, really don't think we are. And although I am a song and dance guy, I love my musicals. I know that we're going to have a bit of pain. So I'll see you next time here for Glee episode, season 2, first and last. Let's see if it can keep up this pace without getting lost in it. My name is Aaron. This has been the Call to Cinema, and we'll see you here next time for first and last Glee season 2. So you remember to stay. You know my favorite episode of the first season of Glee, for like purely strange reasons. There's an episode called Bad Reputation. It was something that they would do more of later on. But when I was a kid, I loved music and I was in drama. But we had a big record player, this gigantic, massive record player. You open it, it was like a mahogany type thing. It's a piece of furniture. You flipped it open. It had like an 8-track player. It had a record player. It had like these big like stereo speakers, and it had a place for putting records. So we had all these K-Tel records, right? You got some Air Supply and all this stuff too. So I'd go on and listen to these K-Tel albums and that my aunts had, especially my aunt Jackie, because we grew up like brother and sister. And there was this song, and nobody ever mentioned or talked about it ever before when I was a kid, especially. And it was called "Run Joy Run." It is a story song. So for those that are unaware, story songs basically are songs that literally do that they are there to tell a specific story. Now not all songs are. Some songs are centered on music. "Run Joy Run" is definitely not centered on making great music. It's this super cheesy song. It is kind of like the Troll 2 or The Room of music, that it's a song that is so bafflingly weird that it kind of works in spite of itself. And it made me happy to like you would not believe, to realize that Glee, whoever wrote the show, also knew the song "Run Joy Run" and used it, where they do like kind of a music video, where they're basically saving reputations of songs that people considered like bad songs. And Rachel Berry does the song "Run Joy Run" with this kind of black and white, super cheesy, super cool little song. And that's one that I love. So anyway, Bad Reputation. There's an episode to check out, or at least go online on YouTube and check out "Run Joy Run." Check out like the Glee version, and then check out the original, because it's different. See you next time.